What is going on, Hive Warriors? It's your boy Edward V, and today I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a beginner's guide to intermittent fasting. A beginner's guide that actually helps you psychologically while simultaneously helping you with the results that you're looking for. It's probably going to be the quintessential beginner's guide. I'm going to go ahead and break that down in this video. Stay tuned. Alright guys, quickly, not going to bog you down with my jump rope, but it's only $16.50. You can click on the top right hand corner of this video and get a good swivel design jump rope for speed jumping at a very affordable price of $16.50. The link will also be down in the description, and of course, as always guys, thank you for your support. Now let's go ahead and jump right into the video. Alright, so all of these tips will definitely 100% help you in your journey. It's not just going to help you with getting the results that you're looking for, but it's going to help you with being able to do it and stick to it. So the first thing that I want to talk about, which is incredibly important, is you want to ensure that you pick the correct time schedule for you. If you don't pick the right time schedule, you are in for a world of disaster. All that's going to happen is that you will have every single excuse to go up against the entire intermittent fasting system because of the fact that you have legitimate excuses to go up against the entire intermittent fasting system in terms of your lifestyle, in terms of work being a disruptor for how you're doing your intermittent fasting schedule, in terms of specific family times and specific family eating times. Those are going to be conflicting if you have this arbitrary time schedule that you did not plan out thoroughly. Be very smart with the time slot for when you are eating and when you are fasting. If you want to eat before you go to the gym, make sure you have that built in to your schedule. If you want to eat during the times when your family sits down for a nice dinner, make sure that it is accounted for in your schedule. If you're just not hungry in the morning and it's harder for you to eat in the morning, make sure you have that built in to your schedule. If you're a morning eater and you like to eat in the morning, but you're trying to do intermittent fasting and you think that that means you need to skip breakfast, you do not. Make sure to account that in your schedule. Guys, the most important element to intermittent fasting in terms of its isolated success is simply that you can complete the fasting periods consecutively and repeatedly. So wherever you have to slot that time in so that you can follow this protocol for the long term is where it needs to be. So please make sure that before you just say, you know what, I'm going to start right now. My fasting time starts right now. Do not do that. Pick a day, use that day, strategize exactly when you think will be best. Maybe when you're at work during the lunchtime periods and 15-minute breaks, have that squeezed in somewhere. Maybe it's when you're at home. Maybe it's when you're eating with your family. Make sure you have everything accounted for before you build your schedule and then jump into your intermittent fasting system. This will help you from the jump. Trust me, it is very difficult once you try to get into a flow. There's too many disruptors. Then you decide, oh, now it's time for me to adjust. But your eating time and when you feel hungry and that flow, that biological habit, ghrelin release, that's the hunger hormone, has been getting accustomed to this time window that you've created. So you want to make sure that you create the best time window so that everything continues to flow perfectly and there's no disruptions or excuses for you to jump off intermittent fasting. The next beginner's guide to intermittent fasting that is very important is making sure that you are satisfied with the foods that you are eating. Because if you're not, I'm going to tell you right now that you will have eater's regret, or what's it called when you eat and you want to eat but you can't eat anymore but you felt that what you ate wasn't what you really wanted. You're gonna have eating regret. That I guess intermittent fasting can create this new word, eating regret. that you're going to feel that, well, you know what? I'm going to justify breaking my fast because I don't think I ate enough. Or I'm going to justify breaking my fast because I didn't really feel satisfied with what I ate. I'm going to justify breaking my fast because I'm hungry right now. And clearly, because I only ate a little bit of junk food and I didn't really eat anything substantive. You need to be very cognizant and understand that you have to have a full, satiating meal thrown in to that intermittent fasting eating time window. There has to be something that when you eat it, you know, yeah, this is a full meal. This is a meal that I like. This is a meal that I feel satisfied with. Because if you do not have that, you are already battling the hormonal and psychological elements of trying to get into a new system that you have not been doing for your entire life. And if you add any layers against you, if you add any arsenal or layers against you, it's going to be very hard for you to stick to it, and you're going to break it very, very quickly. You want to build that habit. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get into that flow, but you want to build that habit. And the only way you can actually build that habit is if you put up as much defensive walls as possible, and making sure that you do not have eater's regret or eating regret. I just made that word up on the fly, guys. To stave that feeling off, you want to eat something that is substantive, satiating, satisfying, gratifying, all of those things in one during all of your eating windows. And of course, make sure that you're eating healthy, because the healthier you eat, actually the more full you're going to be, and you'll have more nutritional value from your intermittent fasting eating time frames. And the next guide is don't start super slow. And by super slow, I mean anything below 16 hours of fasting, don't do it. Just don't do it, because it's not even worth it. We already understand certain elements in terms of the science behind intermittent fasting, when the metabolic switch happens, when the post-absorptive range takes place. How much time does that allow you to actually be burning fat, to actually receive some health benefits from intermittent fasting? Yes, everyone is different, but there are certain transition points and windows that you must try to hit for you to feel those benefits. It is very difficult. Let me tell you, it is very difficult for you to do a 12-hour fast and think that you can easily just start doing a 16-hour fast or a 20-hour fast. 16 hours is not that bad of a fasting time frame. You're technically sleeping usually about 7 to 8 hours. So for half of those 16 hours, you're asleep. So basically it's just 8 hours of waking time of fasting and 8 hours of waking time eating. It is not that difficult to have a 16-hour fast, but at the same time, if you find the 16-hour fast to be very doable and just fits perfectly into your system, you never have to advance to any other one or move to a different intermittent fasting protocol. And get this, most of the studies that we have fall in the range of the 16-hour fast all the way up to alternate day fasting. That's most of the studies that we have on intermittent fasting. So all of those positive elements, all of those positive benefits that you get from intermittent fasting, the health benefits, the fat burning, we have most of that data built into 16-hour fast, 20-hour fast, 1 meal a day, and 36-hour fast with alternate day fasting. So please stay within the range of what the studies provide so that it isn't hard for you to get to just 16 hours of fasting. It's much easier to move from 16 to 20 than moving from 12 to 16. Please take heed of that advice. Another one is somewhat of a no-brainer, but a lot of people kind of shrug this to the side because they think the intermittent fasting system is the be-all, end-all. Add exercise to the equation, because what exercise will do for you is it'll help you build certain parameters that actually tag team with the entire intermittent fasting system. Because what intermittent fasting does is it helps you switch your energy substrate from everything else to focusing primarily on body fat as a mechanism that actually takes place in your body is a movement from the fatty acids to the liver and transitioning that with the beta hydroxybutyrate into ketone bodies. That in and of itself already triggers a pull from your body fat. So there's a calorie partitioning system happening there. But if you add muscle on top of that, on top of all of that, now those calories that are coming in have to also account for powering the muscles that you currently have. And the more muscles you have, the more it has to partition more of that calories to power those muscles. And then you still have the added element of the fact that it also has to partition a lot of those calories to move into creating those ketone bodies. So then you're further starving the fat. There's less to store because of the fact that you have muscle, as well as the fact that you are in a metabolic switchover that's burning more fat. So add exercise. I cannot tell you this enough. I know a lot of people that just don't add exercise and say, you know what, I'm just gonna do this nice, calm, relaxed, intermittent fasting system. I'll be good. You don't have to go to the gym, but do something. Have something. Do calisthenics, push-ups, something in your house so that you can at least create muscle tissue or build muscle fibers so that your calorie partitioning works further in your favor. It makes it even easier because you could actually eat even more if you want to, based off of this calorie partitioning system. The next tip that I'm going to tell you on the beginner's guide for intermittent fasting is always be aware of how much you're eating. Now, always being aware of how much you're eating does not necessarily mean that you have to count every calorie meticulously. You may have to understand how many calories there are in certain foods, but once you kind of get the gist of it, just know how much you're eating. Try to make sure not to go above your calorie intake. And so many people might say, well, this is what makes intermittent fasting special. I don't have to count. But really, what makes intermittent fasting special in terms of not having to count is the fact that you are more cognizant and aware of how much you're eating because you're eating everything in a smaller time window. It's much easier to understand exactly how much you took in a smaller time window than if you were able to snack throughout the entire day, eat a little something when you're watching TV at night, grab something, grab a banana here and there, grab a bar here and there. It's much harder to know exactly how much you were eating when there is no limitation to when and how you can eat. You just eat. With intermittent fasting, because you're compressing everything to a smaller time window, you actually become much more cognizant of exactly how much you've eaten and exactly how many calories you've taken in during your eating time frame. So that's a super beneficial tool to intermittent fasting, and you should use it as such because calories still matter. What makes intermittent fasting different in terms of weight loss is the calorie partitioning, focusing on body fat, but calories in and of itself still matter, and use that benefit that intermittent fasting gives you by compressing your meal time to be more aware of how much food you're actually eating and making sure that you are not going above your calorie intake. And the final tip that I want to give everyone before I let this video go is always have something that you can drink, a non-caloric drink that you can have in a pinch, because this non-caloric drink is actually going to be a saving grace, because whenever you get that feeling that you want to eat something, you could actually be confusing thirst for food, or you could just want to consume something because maybe you have certain tendencies. Maybe you're watching TV at night and you're relaxed on the couch, and usually at this time you would eat something that will drive that tendency or that psychological need or want to grab something to eat. But if you substitute that with something else, you have that desire to consume something, but then you go and consume something that has no calories. You have now started to thwart that feeling of wanting to eat during those times, and then now you actually just want to grab a non-caloric drink because you continue to do this. That was you combating that feeling. One thing that I would suggest is carbonated water or naturally essence flavored carbonated water to get more variety. You could do things like coffee. I have a video series on things that you can consume that are non-caloric when intermittent fasting. I highly recommend having this because this will literally stay stave off all of those feelings and replace that feeling of hunger with wanting to just drink your non-caloric thing. Water, just simple water, can be a powerful tool in this regard. You can just use water as your weapon to stave off that feeling, and then you will only want to drink water as opposed to eating when you're in those familiar moments. Hopefully this video has helped you guys, and of course, as always, I want to thank my patrons for my Patreon, and I'm going to go ahead and put their names right up here. And as always, guys, I'll see you on Wednesday for another FAQ. Peace!